Okay, hello everybody and welcome to Almost the Weekend Update. Now, let me share a screen with you. And it is almost over. It is Friday. You have 2.5 more days and you are done with online learning certification. Give yourself a pat on the back, but also realize you just got to finish up a couple of things. This and the capstone and your reflection. Okay, so question number 1. Make sure in your responses or in your posts, doesn't matter which, that you discuss how it will drive or influence how you relate to students and teach students online. Because after all, although you're talking about these categories and which category you are, what it's all about is really is metacognition. And metacognition is learning how to learn, or how do you know things. So when talking about question number 1, it is about how do you learn things? How will your students learn things online and using technology? Okay, now in question number 1, we are dealing with demographics and we are dealing with typology. And you've been seeing a lot of this with the political system. and especially coming up next Tuesday, you've been seeing a lot of polls. So that's really what we're doing when we're talking about this. Now, my background is in graduate work in both marketing research and also in education. And in education, focus groups, longitudinal studies, they're done all the time. So that's why we're going ahead and using this. Now, sometimes it's a generational approach. Sometimes it's a topological approach. And what they really look at is they look at students and their peers, their friends, and their affinity groups. And for us, when we're discussing this, when we pick a certain type of student out, it really is looking at what they and their peers are doing, or their friends in their affinity groups. Because their peers might be on Facebook, or they might be on Snapchat. They might use Twitter, or they might come into the campus and use Yik Yak. And the thing with affinity groups, it really depends. It depends on their hobbies and also who they associate with online. They might use Skype all the time, or say if they're a gamer, rather than using Skype for voice over IP, they might use something that's called Ventrilo, or they might use Mumble, or they might use Discord. So there's a lot of different options there. But when we're looking at this, we're really looking at similarities in preference and predisposition, and also the activities and the behavior. So I just wanted to show you this really quickly. If you'd like to know more about, about just people in general, internet use and technology, the Pew Research Center is really good for this. And here's one of the examples. This came out on September 1st, and this was about book reading. Guess what? People are reading more on ebooks and on tablets, okay? But print books remain more popular. Okay, this is something that we have seen system-wide when we have been using digital media or ebooks. A lot of our students want the physical book that they can turn the pages and that they can highlight. So just be aware of this when you're putting content up. Your students may really want to be able to print this off. Oh, and a great thing about the Pew Research Center is they give you the complete report, and they tell you all about the methodology, whether they did the surveys online, whether they did phone surveys, exactly what the population was for the survey, and also if they've done focus groups. So I really like this because I like looking at the methodology. I like to know when I'm talking about something, oh, there were more than 6 people that they talked to, or oh, this was a focus group that they really targeted this specific group, and these were the questions that were asked. I like knowing that. Next thing, evolving scenario part 3. This will be going up as soon as we're done with this live stream. And last but not least, let's talk about project-based learning. Project-based learning is a pedagogical strategy, okay? Meaning it's one way to do your classes and to also do the big assignments and assessment in your classes. So what is project-based learning? Well, we're going to click here, and this is going to give us the wrong page, right? But what we're going to do is we're just going to go over here. So we're on the Bucks Institute for Education. This is a think tank out of Ohio, the Buckeye State. And what they do is they really look at project-based learning. And why this is a really good site is they have lots of resources, and they also tell you explicitly what project-based learning is. And a really quick rundown is that it focuses on skills. It always starts out with a challenging problem or question. It doesn't start out with a chapter that says, read this introduction. This is what you should know. Instead, what it gives the students is a question or a challenge. Here is the question or a challenge. And then here are the resources that you will use. And you know what? We want you to go and get even more resources. And it's sustained inquiry. So it's not just a one and done kind of thing. This is something that could last weeks or it could last months. Now, there's an authenticity, meaning this project should use real-world context, tasks, and tools. Okay? Student voice and choice is used for helping choose the project or helping decide what direction they want to go into. Maybe it's a written paper. Maybe it's they want to make a video out of this. Now, there's always a reflection, like the reflection we have in our class. This really helps with when it comes to metacognition and students thinking about how do they learn, how they've done things differently, what will they do next time. And bring the students in for a bit of critique and revision. It'll only make your project-based learning better. And then the last thing, the goal of all project-based learning is to have a public product. It's not to lock something away in an LMS. It's not for you to get the paper that nobody ever sees. It's to have a public product. Okay, so that's all I have. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend. And I will go ahead and I will see you online. So bye, everybody.